Hello and welcome to another episode of VFL. 3 more left to go, so we've got the 3 sidekicks in all together for once. You've got Phil in, and he's back, innit?
Los Angeles.
Yeah. Los Angeles, is that what we're going for now? We're going to discuss a bit, the final run-in. We're going to talk if Oscar Disastri has actually blown it completely. Has Lando fluffed his lines? Or is Max going to pull off the impossible? And we'll talk about that constructors that Ferrari are actually doing quite well in. Who knows? This is VFL.
Hello, welcome, as Phil says, welcome to this week's episode of VFL. Before we do start, I'm going to call you two out on some things from last week. One thing, what I will say is I have never said that Monaco is my favourite street circuit, ever. I will admit to saying that I do think that the current cars are too wide for Imola, and it does not take anything away from the track. But I did say that, so I will back you up on that one.
I've got message proof. You said it.
I know. I'm agree. I've said that.
I've got message proof. You said Monaco's your favourite.
No, you have not. That message proof does not exist.
Trust me, I can make it exist.
Right. AI can make it exist. You did a whole episode last week. Very good episode, by the way, chaps. But you did a whole episode where Lando Norris was exceptional for the entire weekend, and you didn't mention him. You mentioned him at the start. So I'm going to start this week with a little bit of Lando loving, because you two didn't do anywhere near enough. And the final thing that I want to call you both out on is, and I will have to blank myself out for this, is Yuki Tsunoda.
I thought that's what you'd said. I mean, Phil filled in for you, so Phil's predicted.
Top guy. Come on.
I can't wait.
You told me this was your prediction. You said, Phil, you've got to choose Yuki for me. And trust me, I'll make that message appear.
Yeah, and you can make evidence of that. So all I'm hoping for is I can't wait for Max Verstappen to break down on lap 1.
Imagine it happens.
And I will start to cheer as Yuki starts to go past him, and then all of a sudden what will happen is Tsunoda will actually crash into him and push Verstappen further up the road.
Down the road.
It'll be like some of wacky races.
Part of me genuinely hopes now that he does win something.
Imagine
though. That'd be
will
proper egg on my face. That would it.
for the viewers that we've got, and then the channel's up to over 7,000 views now. So firstly, because I did check that whilst we were away, we are up to over 7,000 views. So thank you very much to everyone for sticking with us, and for those viewers, it does make it a little bit more interesting as to whether me or Phil will be the ones donning a tash for the last couple of episodes, whenever they may be. So fair play. We'll stick with Tsunoda. Okay, so this week we're only giving our final predictions. This is a very, very quick video, just because there is no race this weekend, as we know. So we're just going to quickly go through where we think this will stand with both the drivers' standings and the constructors' standings. So we'll start with the drivers first, because that is the one that people are most interested in, obviously, at the moment, for obvious reasons. So we'll start with the drivers. Phil, do you have the table there for a quick overview?
Lando Norris is on 390 points. Oscar Piastri on 366, and Max Verstappen on 341.
So, where do we, after Brazil, because I've got to be honest, I read quite a little bit of stuff whilst I was away, and it's all the stuff of we said it on this channel a million times before. They did very much seem that Piastri just always seemed to have that way of making sure that no matter what Norris did, Piastri always had that way of it either being damage limitation or still getting more points than him. That narrative has completely flipped on its head now, hasn't it? If we're honest, and it now seems to be that Norris, no matter what Piastri does, Norris seems to be, last couple of races at least, is incredibly outscoring him. Where do we sit now? I'll go first to the Ferrari fan, the neutral in this. Where do you sit as an F1 fan, though? Where do you think this is going now? I know you don't care, but
who cares? Honestly, I'd rather talk about Cadillac. Honestly, I think it's Norris's to lose now. It pains me massively to say that, and I can see you two on my screen very smugly watching as I say that. But I think in the last 2 or 3 races, he's gone up that level. We've been waiting for him to do it all season. There's been some massive performances, Silverstone this year, and things like that. He has one-off performances. What he's done in the last few races has stepped up to a level that is that of a champion.
Yeah.
I don't want any of that screenshotting. I don't want any of that repeating ever again. But he has stepped up, and therefore he deserves it. He's in the right place. The table doesn't lie. I think there's more chance of Max catching him at the moment than Piastri.
Just about to say, do you think, though, that there's like another, obviously it's sport, and we've seen this a million times, specifically in F1, but we've seen this a million times across all sport, that this can flip again. Something can happen. And we know Piastri likes Qatar as an example. Piastri obviously won the sprint there last year, so we know that Piastri's quite good around Qatar as an example. So do we think that there's another flip in this, or do we think there's no more time, or not enough time, or what?
I think a lot more hinges on this Bowfest that's coming at the weekend.
Yeah.
Than we want to admit. I mean, if Lando DNFs, for example, or if Max, Oscar, and say the Mercedes gets in the way of Lando, or the Mercedes and a Ferrari Max needs a miracle this weekend, or Max is going to be out. And if Max is out, it's Lando's. I don't think Piastri's got an answer to him now.
I mean, we've still got 83 points left to play for, because obviously there's still a sprint at Qatar.
It's tight, though.
Yeah,
it's getting too tight now. Lando kind of has to finish second all the time, and he's won it.
I must admit, I don't ever want to write off Max Verstappen, because that's a criminal offence to make. But I must admit, obviously I was away, so I didn't watch the sprint or whatever. I have watched the race from Brazil, and as much as Max was brilliant, and you two were right to sing his praises, I don't know if this is going to come across wrong. I expected more from Max. I appreciate he started in the pit lane and finished third. But I think that was Max's weekend to make more of it than he did. Well, maybe
he could have won the race, though. We discussed this, didn't we? His car was naff in qualifying, openly and admittedly, and he was complaining a lot about it. The sprint quali proved that as well. He had a slow puncture during the race, when the first safety car came out. Now, any other time, that would have suited him perfectly, because it drags it all back together. He'd have been after him. Instead, he had to box and drop back to the back again. So you're right. Everything said Max could have still won that. And if things that weren't in his control hadn't have gone that way, he would have. Let's not beat around the bush. He would have beaten Norris. I'm not saying he deserved to, and Norris was exceptional and did what he had to do. I don't think he'd have had an answer if Max had charged him down.
No, and that's like the qualifying issue, for instance. I think he qualifies so badly, and that's where they'd make the decision, right, well, let's have a pit lane start because you've qualified so poorly. If he doesn't do that, then he probably still win, and that's more the point I was getting at. I think he needed maybe to win both the sprint and the race to go on and really push on now for the championship. I think the fact that he's lost points to Norris over the weekend has probably left him in a position where Brazil was his big chance. That's the point I'm getting at.
Is this a massive, intelligent masterstroke from Piastri, though? And has he performed badly enough to push Max out of the championship? just weird things that have happened. Is this a master plan? And then all of a sudden Oscar's going to turn up and win by a minute in Vegas. And but no, I think his chance was there, and I think he's lost it. He's hoping on a miracle, and Oscar's not there to upset Norris at the moment.
Can I just point out, by the way, that I did say when we were predicting for Brazil that if it was a dry race, it would be a McLaren winner.
To be honest with you, Anthony, all season, you can sit there, right, and find the spaceship rock up, and it's like saying, tomorrow, the day's going to end in Y. All right.
I'd love to know what's happened to Norris after the summer break. I'd love to know what's got in his mindset, and because he just seems like a different animal when he went into the summer break behind in the championship, and then if you look at him on the did you see him on the podium in Brazil?
No, I'll be honest. I went through.
Oh, he was. Because for some reason, I mean, I'm not just saying this as a Norris, but I don't know where the hate's coming from towards him. Like the boos that were ringing out
Hang on,
about
let
him.
me get my notebook out.
There is
The boos that were ringing out. But when he was stood on the podium, he was like, he just looked so cold, like proper. It reminded me of like who am I going to say then? Like a Roy Keane in the tunnel at Old Trafford. When he was when he'd stand at the start and he wouldn't speak to the opposition because they're not your friends, and he was so focused. And for me, I just think it's his to lose now.
Well, I think the hatred, by the way, on that, because I had a theory on this, because obviously if you do, there is a lot of discussion elsewhere that sort of a lot of the British coverage of F1, for instance, because I know that obviously David Croft, the Sky coverage for the F1 is what they use in a lot of countries. I was listening to Crofty and Martin in LA, and I believe they do in Australia as well. So correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a criticism that the British coverage is very anti Piastri and Max and very favourable of Norris, which is probably they do it with Hamilton, I would argue as well. I think it's unconsciously biased because obviously you want to root for your hometown hero. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it might be becoming a lot of these countries might get the British coverage and might feel that is a favouritism to, and therefore they're taking that out on the driver. That is one theory. I'm not saying that's the end reason or whatever, but it possibly could be.
Is the Mini Carly right? That's genuinely
probably not.
Hear me out. No, not since he ran Ferrari.
Just refresh me. What was he said again?
Right, he said that the modern day audience get bored easy. Now, what's the most boring thing being about this season? Them orange cars keep winning. All right, so the mindset of anyone who doesn't like someone who's successful is to boo them, rightly or wrongly. We've seen booed throughout the years. Max was booed, Lewis was booed, Schumacher was booed. You have to almost go back to like Damon Hill. I'm saying that no, because Hill was up against Schumacher. You go back to Senna's, Mansell's, they weren't booed.
Yeah,
they were respected. So maybe we had that whole episode of trashing Domenicali, but maybe he's kind of right.
Well, to be fair, we did say on that episode that he probably was right. That the new generation Gen Z, Gen Z. For anyone who speaks English normally, Gen Z they have got a shorter attention span. So like you said, if you're watching a full 2-hour race, especially a sprint weekend where you're having to watch another race on top of that, like I admittedly didn't even watch the sprint this weekend, and if you're doing all that to then watch that, like you said, Phil, the papaya
that's the
car,
sport. That's the sport, though, isn't it?
Orange.
Win again. No, you're right, Phil. It is the sport. Yeah,
it is.
We all know. Yeah, but whether they like it or not, the sport goes on for 71 laps or Silverstone at 52 laps. That's what it is.
No, not anymore, mate. Are you not looking forward to the Le Mans 90-minute race next year? We're not doing 24 hours. It's too boring.
Very nearly swore then. It's a load of...
Remember the F1 games where you used to be able to do races over 3 laps?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. Yeah.
That'll be fun. It'll be like Mario Kart.
It's all right. Ferrari won't make it round.
Sonoda won't.
It's sport, man. And if you don't like it, then it might be funny. Just don't watch it.
I agree, and you two agree, but we're getting to that generation and that age where we remember the good old days. We remember what it's like. We don't mind that a team's walking it because that team has done better in the winter, in the testing, in the design, in the development. They went through some hard times before that. A sport's cyclical, isn't it? It will come round again. There will be a strong Ferrari again.
Netflix. I blame Netflix.
The other thing is to go back to it though, like we've said before, we've said it about Red Bull, we said it about Merck's dominance. It's not McLaren's fault this year. It wasn't Red Bull's fault in the past. It's the other teams that need to catch up and do and make up. So before we move on to discussing the constructors, then, because that would have been a nice little tie-in. Let's put our heads on the block before we go. Then we've got 3 races left. We won't do predictions for each of the races because that's what Ant v Phil is for. But Phil Egan is the guest this week. Who's winning the drivers?
Norris.
Phil B.
Excuse me, sorry.
Lance Stroll.
Did you see that thing I sent you that said how he could technically still do it?
No, sorry. Lando for me.
I wanted to be different. But I, at the moment, the way things are going, I don't see how it is anyone else.
Which is a shame. Which is a shame. I'd like the build-up, but no.
Yeah. I'm going to go Lando too.
How much of this do you reckon can you put down to Mark Webber? Do you reckon you put any of this down to Mark Webber? Do you reckon? He had the same problem. No, I get that, but
he's crashing.
He had the same in 2010, didn't he? Against Vettel, lost it in the dying weeks.
He did, but the difference was that Red Bull made no, they didn't hide the fact that they were backing Vettel.
Have you, on that, by the way, have you heard Bernie Eccleston's comments that it's obvious that McLaren are backing Norris?
How? They're not allowed to.
I think what they did was made Piastri lock up as he wiped out Antonelli and nearly took out Leclerc.
I think I know Bernie Eccleston was always one for getting himself in the middle of drama, and if there wasn't any to put himself in the middle of, he certainly made sure that there was. I don't understand how his comments. He's basically claiming that McLaren are clearly giving the better car of the two to Norris.
He's just a clown, isn't he?
I can't. I can't agree with that. There'll be Australian people out there who think that there will be some theories that suggest that why that is the case. I can't see it here, and I have admitted in the past I'm more Lando than Oscar, but I can't see it personally.
There's things that you could use as evidence to point towards him being right, and I'm certain that it would benefit McLaren more to have a British world champion than an Australian one.
I don't disagree with that, yeah.
But I still don't believe it. I don't think Zach Brown's that kind of person.
No, me either. And I believe
what he said. I don't think Andrea Stella is.
No, I agree.
He doesn't care about the Brit. He's Italian. Why does he care who it is?
And Zach Brown's British, although there is arguments to say that he's American. Although there is argument to say that he's sorry. I'm blaming jet lag. We'll move on. Yeah. We'll move on to the constructors then, if we're all in agreement that it's Lando.
McLaren are going to win this.
Yeah, well, I think we already have. Phil, have you got the Constructors standings?
Constructors Championship, 1 minute. So the teams. Right, okay, so McLaren are first in 756. Then you have Mercedes, 398. Red Bull Racing, 366. And then Ferrari at 362. And then I'm going to read you fifth place, which is Williams at 111.
So let's rule Williams out. We already know, obviously, that
Racing Bulls in sixth place could potentially make it on 82 points.
To fifth. Well, we'll keep a beady eye on that one. So it's fair to say that McLaren have obviously, well, we know McLaren have obviously won already. Otherwise, my jumper would be a bit premature. And that is a word that has been used to describe me on many occasions.
I think you beat me to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw your reaction and I thought, I'm beating him to this. I've lost where I'm up to. So, so Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Remind me, did you say it was 4 points between Red Bull and Ferrari in third and fourth?
Got off it now.
Sorry, and Mercedes it was, wasn't it? And then Mercedes are about 20 plus or something away. I will have it on the screen whilst we're talking, so at least our viewers will know what we're on about. We don't. Ferrari was a bit of a killer for. Brazil was a bit of a killer for Ferrari, Phil.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think all their own doing as well. So
No.
I still fancy Ferrari for second.
I do. Do you know why? Because up until Brazil was a shocker, but like you said, it was nothing to do with their own doing. And I know a lot of people thought, what's the point in keeping Hamilton out? I actually prayed. I no, not only that, but I actually thought, why not? Yes, you're potentially wasting parts, but they can look. We've always said that when a car's written off like that, it's a free form of testing, it's a free form of practice or whatever. So I thought fair play to them for going as long as they did. I thought they can learn more. You can often learn from a situation like that. Leclerc's obviously wasn't his fault, and he couldn't have carried on with a wheel missing or a tyre missing. But I'm with you actually. I do believe that Ferrari and Mercedes are all of a sudden looking quite good though.
No. You see, the thing is, it's a bit of an unfair battle if you look, because Ferrari have 2 drivers. Red Bull famously have 1 driver. And, hang on, Mercedes, they've got Kimi Antonelli and, hang on.
Begins with a G.
Hang on. No, come on, he pops up. No one knows who he is.
You can't.
From Toy Story. There we go.
He's performed well though recently.
Hey?
But there's been a snake in his boot.
No, honestly, he seems to appear from infinity and beyond because no one knows where he is through the races. So I couldn't possibly comment how good his races have been because I don't know.
Some of these jokes are terrible. Absolutely terrible. But yeah, they've had an upturn in form. Yeah. And it's shown by the fact that I think if we'd have had this conversation maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we'd have been discussing Red Bull v Ferrari. I don't think we'd have really considered Mercedes in it. So fair play that they have shown a little bit of improvement. Fair play to Antonelli. He had a good weekend in Brazil as well, because I have been quite open in criticising Antonelli. I know he's young and I know that Mercedes isn't as good as it has been in the past, but I've often said that I do think he needs to perform better than he has been doing. And this week, and I thought weekend just gone he has. So fair play. The factor you're forgetting though, you just said Red Bull only have 1 driver. Don't forget, Yuki Tsunoda's about to win in Vegas. So do you know what I mean?
If he does, I will grow a tash for the rest of the season. All right, that's his...
If he does, I'll appear on an episode in a Ferrari shirt.
The thing is though, Phil, if Yuki Tsunoda does win, you will have to have a tash for the last two races of the season because that will be the rule.
Yeah, the 2 weeks, yeah.
So you would have to anyway if Yuki Tsunoda wins. I mean,
we'll have to Photoshop a tash onto him, so it looks good.
On Tsunoda?
No, well, both, yeah.
So where do you think the constructors is going then? Well, second,
McLaren.
Obviously. Sorry. Yeah, I think McLaren will win. No, sorry, second.
Ferrari.
Do you think, Phil?
Red Bull.
Do you? I'm good. I'll go the other one then because I actually do think Woody.
Yeah, I just think Red Bull.
Woody, Bullseye, Bo Peep, Mr. Potato Head, and the rest of the gang over at Mercedes. I think they've got a friend in me. I think they'll come second.
Oh, that's just horrific.
They've got friends in me. I wish someone had poisoned the water hole.
This is took a turn, this, on it.
Honestly, Bullseye's the horse on the Ferrari car at the moment this year, isn't he? Let's be honest. And it's also embarrassing that someone at the age of 41 knows this much about Toy Story.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Does that mean Freddie Vasseurs, the old Stinky Pete?
No, he's Al. Remember Al's toy barn, the guy dressed in the chicken? That's Freddie Vasseur. Anyway, we have gone well off on a tangent here. Okay, so Phil's going to say, Phil B's going to say Ferrari going to come second. Phil E's going to go with Red Bull. And I'll go the other way and say Mercedes. It does mean the constructors, at least for second place, is quite tight, and that's given us a little bit of excitement. And for the Drivers' World Championship, all 3 of us are going to go with Lando at this stage, which will probably change after Vegas.
Very last question, and I wanted to ask this because it's coincided with you being away. Bortoleto versus Behrman. Who's impressed most this season?
I know. Hasn't that turned? Genuinely, hasn't that turned since? I mean, you've got to say Bortoleto. You've just got to. I mean,
he got slightly less than
rose tinted glasses he's wearing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's. I mean, I just think consistently over the season, he's been magnificent. No, in fairness, it's Behrman at the minute. What I think, if you were to have to vote for Rookie of the Year now, although Ollie Behrman doesn't count because he's not a rookie because he had a race last year. So, Rookie of the Season.
Now to pick up on that, rookie tests involve anyone who's not raced 2 races.
And that's
Now,
enough. That's all the time we've got for this week's episode.
But yeah,
I will concede on that one that I do think Ollie Behrman is probably outperforming him as it stands at the moment. Yeah.
Although at the start of the season, Bortoletto was completely bossing it.
Yeah.
And
it's 100% the tale of two halves, that, isn't it? And I know that's the big cliche in football, but like Bortoletto in the first half, and then Behrman since. So it depends which half of the season you look at, I guess. But overall, I'd say probably Behrman. And it will come down to, I suppose, who's got most points between the two of them. Realistically, I would argue that the Sauber and the Haas are probably similar cars this season. We thought the Sauber would be much worse, so I'd say they're similar. So I'd say we'll fall down to points. Anyway, we will discuss that though when the season is over, because we will have an award episode coming the end of the season. But for now, we will look forward, if that's the right word, to Vegas next week. And we will discuss obviously everything that happens at their nighttime race. So that's a very, very early one on the Sunday morning. So you will get that episode at some point on Sunday. Because I'm not waking myself up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be put straight back to sleep by the inevitability of the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
So why he's got the lights.
Yeah. So on that note, that has been us for this week. Just a final build up to the end of the season. Let us know in the comments below who you think will finish second in the constructors, whether you think it'll be Ferrari, Red Bull, or Mercedes, and also let us know in the comments whether you think it's going to be Lando, Max, or Oscar to be crowned the Drivers' World Champion in 2025. We will, of course, as I said, be back next week for the Vegas Grand Prix. But for us, for this week, it's adios.
Bye now.